Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center studios. Make sure you go check them out, folks. Fine jewelry, watches, and much more. Family owned and operated with the largest selection of natural diamond jewelry. Today's program, we're hoping to have Buddy Martin. We'll definitely have Graham Hall, second portion of today's program. Some news and notes. If you missed it last night, Lady Gator basketball goes down in the Final Four of the WBIT to Minnesota. But congratulations to Coach Kelly Ray Finley. She had her little boy yesterday, and his name is Laken, Laken. Pretty cool name, by the way. But congratulations to her. Also, if you want to chime in today, the First on Deck show at 11 a.m. on all your different podcast platforms. You'll have Steve Russell and Jeff Cardozo doing that as well. We are still waiting on Buddy Martin to join the program. I also want to give a congratulations and a shout out to one of my good friends from Mississippi that I was a teammate with the Chicago Bears, John Mangum. His son, Jake Mangum, who many people may know, played baseball at Mississippi State, was the all-time SEC hit king. Was called up, I think 2 days ago, got his first major league hit last night for the Rays, went 3 for 3, 2 stolen bases, playing right field for the Tampa Bay Rays. So congratulations to Jake. My daughter and him went to college together. Just a wonderful family. I know people that don't care for Mississippi State don't like Jake, but Jake's a heck of a kid and a good player for sure. All right, so let's jump right into it. We're still waiting on Buddy. Maybe Buddy's had overslept or something like that. A lot of people are chiming in here talking about the DB class. I've not followed recruiting. Apparently, we got some good guys that committed as well. 31 Ember's question on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Has DJ thrown in practice yet? Yeah, as far as I know, the answer is no. Like I said, we had Mark Long on last week. He has some concern. I definitely have some concern. I mean, look, people, he's 19 years old, whatever he is. I could go out and at 55, almost 55 years old, and throw 100 balls today. I don't understand the arm issue at all. Hopefully it gets revealed and he'll be ready to roll. Ron 71 says, QB, what do you prefer to play golf in the least? Strong wind, rain with no lightning, cold temperatures, really hot and humid. Oh, it's simple. It's rain. Rain. I don't care about the wind. I don't care how cold it is. I don't care how hot it is. The hotter the better, actually. It's the rain. There's nothing worse than playing in the rain. So a lot of people asking about Janai Broom. Yeah, obviously he's probably going to play. There is no way he's going to be 100%, people. There's no way. No way. He'll probably get shot up and be ready to go. But we'll see. It's his non-shooting hand. But from a rebound standpoint and things of that nature, I doubt he'll be – I know he won't be 100%. There's no way. No possible way at all. As I said, we're still waiting on Buddy. I don't know if Buddy overslept, what his deal is. If not, we'll have Graham Hall join us momentarily. JLB asked on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Shane, how did you life change when you became the starting QB? Nothing changed, really. I'm a very mild-mannered person. Kind of just go with the flow. Nothing excites me. Nothing really gets me upset too much. So it definitely didn't change me at all. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and see if Graham wants to come on. He can, his buddy's a no-show today. But let me do this first. Let me get some of these Facebooks and these texts here. Here's a text on the Titan MR text line from Jimmy. Jimmy says, Shane, have you been out to any spring practices? What is the status of DJ and who has impressed you? I've been to two. Obviously, we got a lot of good young receivers. Um, I said a few years ago with Trey Wilson and Andy Jean and that crew, for whatever reason, they never got their opportunity. I thought I liked them a lot. I don't know why. I like this crew too. I still think this Gator football team, to me, for them to have the season we all want and expect, it's going to be front seven on defense. Front seven of defense. So, hang on, I got people texting me. We're going to get Lauren Meadows to join us in the meantime. Since Buddy's a no-show, so we'll get somebody else from Gator Bait. So we'll get Lauren to chime in here in just a second. I'm just reading. Okay, so Mango went 4 for 4. Last time I checked, he was 3 for 3. But what a night for Jake. He batted second on Sunday. I think that was his first game. He went 0 for. They dropped him down, I think, to the 6 hole, and he went 4 for 4. But he had his whole family there, his sisters and stuff. It was pretty cool. I saw a lot of video clips of it. Just a wonderful family. He's been fighting hard, man, because he's not your prototypical, major league guy. He's about 5'9", 5'10", scrappy. But he finally got a shot after 6-7 years in the minors, and it's pretty damn cool. Hopefully he can stick for a while. All right, let me get a couple of Facebook Live comments here as we wait on Lauren Meadows. This is a good one from Andy on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. What's your take on whether the tush push should be banned? I don't think it should. I mean, I'm not one for banning football plays. I think they got rid of a couple of years ago when they, what do they call it? The shift and all that stuff in baseball, which I still don't think, I think it's perfectly legal to do the shift. Just hit it the other way and they won't shift on you. So to answer your question, Andy, I haven't been following it. I don't know if they're trying to ban it, but I think it would be silly, personally. Rick says he's bought property and building a golf course in Newberry and needs someplace to play. Yeah, don't we all? Jova says, Buddy is the least grouchy and most elite person I know. April Fool's, just kidding, maybe. And Dan gives us a forecast. Cold and rainy Saturday in San Antonio. Good thing we're playing indoors. So, Zach, do we have Lauren yet? Okay. All right. So, all right. Mark says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plum, the Bucks stopped the tush push, get a tackle like Vita Vea. Yes, a couple teams stopped it here and there, but gosh, I don't know why they would get rid of that. LS says, good morning. Who appears to be the Gators' backup QB at this time? Well, if we had to play a game today, and I guess you're assuming, I don't know if you're asking if DJ's not playing, who the backup would be then and who the starter would be. They would probably go with Harrison Bailey, and then the true freshman after him. What is it, Tramel Jones, something like that. So, well, let's go ahead and get to this day of sports. How about that? This day of sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. You put some star power to work in your financial life. Campus USA Credit Union. In 1991 NCAA Men's Basketball Championship, Duke beats Kansas 72-65. It's the Blue Devils' first title. Christian Laettner was the most outstanding player. It's hard to believe in 1991 that was Duke's first title. I think since then, I still think UConn has more titles than they do. Braun 71 says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, Kyle Trask. Re-signing with Tampa Bay was a smart move. Stay in the system. Maybe Baker goes down, but if not, he guarantees 5th year in the NFL for his pension. Yeah, well, he's been vested because he's been in the league at least 3 years. You got to get 3 years, 3 games in. Like I said, Kyle's going to be a backup in the league for a long time, in my opinion. And I do think Graham Mertz has an opportunity to do the same thing. And so we'll see. All right. Another text on the Titan and Mark text line. This is from Bob. Bob says, Shane, did you see where Thomas Houck is rising up on the NBA draft status board? I did see that. Doesn't surprise me. I think he and Walter are two most NBA-ready people, personally. Obviously, we'll see where Walter Clayton goes. But Thomas Houck, to me, for his size, I've been saying it for months now. He's got great ball skills. He's got great instincts. He's quick. He can handle the basketball, and he can shoot. We have Lauren. Lauren, can you hear me, my man? Maybe we can't. Oh, he told. Okay. All right. I love all I'm getting texts from all my loyal guests wanting to come on. Buddy's a no-show. That is a huge fine for the one Buddy Martin. He will be fined a lot. Shooter's question on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumber, says, QB, any coaching advice for 10U volleyball coach? I have none. I'm not a volleyball expert. I just know make sure you're not playing against any males is all I can say. Lauren Meadows from Gator Media. How you doing, my man? Appreciate you joining us.
How you doing, man? Good to see you. Thought I'd fill in, give you some help, man. I'm sure Buddy's got a good reason.
I wasn't prepared to go by myself.
No doubt. I'm sure we can find something to talk about for sure.
Yep. All right, Lauren, let's do this real quick. Let's talk. I want to ask you a couple questions about spring football, but I want to get your thoughts on this Gator basketball team right now. I mean, gosh, got a chance to play for a national title. What do they need to do, in your opinion, that they haven't done in this tournament, in this game against Auburn?
I think they need to get out and defend again. If you look at Florida, they've kind of been slow to what I call, we call it back home, turn people's water off. And what I mean by that is, what Florida's been able to do is defend at a high level early against some of the better teams on their schedule, which leads to transition points, and that kind of gets the offense going. What has happened is teams, go back to the UConn game, teams have kind of found this formula that we're going to try to turn this into a rock fight, slow it down, and make Florida play at our pace. So I think if they can extend the defense, get some on-ball stops that they've been able to get lately, maybe turn, if you notice, Condon nor Chinyalu has really been getting the shot blocks that, normally they've been able to get that allows them to get out in transition. I think that'll be key against Auburn is, being able to really defend at a high level early and then, get those runouts and things like that have really started to turn the tide in some of those big games, against the Arkansas, Arkansas, but Tennessee at home, even the game at Auburn where they fell down early, but were able to get back because they started to tie together those stops, those on-ball stops that led to transition defense. So I think, really force teams to get back to playing their pace, even though Florida, which kind of speaks to Florida's greatness, they can beat you at doing what you do best. But I think as these next two games, you talk about a race to 2 wins, is force teams to play back at their pace as opposed to kind of falling into playing the other team's pace.
Yeah, I agree. So, Lauren, there's a lot of talk about Janai Broom's injury. I watched him go down. I watched him go to the locker room. I watched him come back. I don't care if he is. There's no way he's going to be 100%. If you watch that game, you saw he would not. He just let his right arm just kind of hang, right, even when he was jogging up and down the court.
Yeah.
Now he could get shot up and things of that nature, but I don't know if that's going to help a whole lot. There's no way, in your opinion, he's going to be 80 to 100%, right?
No, I would say I was talking to a friend of mine here that actually He's actually CJ Ingram's stepfather, kind of, I guess, name drop. But, obviously watched the game very close to the basketball scene. And what I think people don't realize is, Shane, you know this, the hyperextended knee as well. I mean, if you saw that
Yeah.
knee, I mean, that was crazy. I mean, so once he gets home, I mean, they got the cold tub, they got the cryo, they got all that stuff. But what's going to happen with the swelling in that knee? And you're correct. I mean, the first pass they threw, I think he caught a rebound and literally went up with his left hand only to grab the rebound. And then, yeah, he was able to gather himself and shoot that 3-pointer. But it was almost like a Willis Reed thing. I mean, a lot of people don't forget. I mean, forget Willis Reed came out the tunnel, shot that jumper, and I think only played like 6 minutes the rest of the game against the Lakers way back when everybody's comparing that to Janai Broome. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, he's a left-handed guy, plays a lot over his right shoulder with that left hand. And but you got to have that right hand to fend guys off and things like that. So yeah, it was nasty, man. I would be shocked. I mean, I know Bruce Pearl said he's expecting him to play, and obviously you don't want to show your hand, but like once again, I would definitely throw that three-headed monster down low at him early in that game on Saturday if he even attempts to come out there and just let those three guys lean on him. Because the one thing about it is Condon, a little ankle injury, but I mean, he'll be 90 to 100%. Chinyulu's in great shape, Houck's in great shape, hand logged in. It's going to be a lot for 40 minutes if Janai Broome tries to really go out there. And like I said, I'm more concerned. I mean, obviously the elbow, and that's one thing, but I think a lot of people are forgetting about that knee as well. And it was nasty.
Yeah, good point. Tony on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mental Law. Back to Kyle Trask. Wouldn't it have been better for Kyle really to have backed up in Jacksonville, the same coordinator? That goes a long way, doesn't it? Yes. However, you got to remember, Liam Cohen didn't choose Kyle Trask. Like, they didn't draft him. So I'm sure, I don't know if they would have wanted Kyle to go to Jacksonville, be the backup, it probably would have happened, but it didn't. So I don't know their situation or relationship, but you bring up a good point. Yeah, if you find the right coordinator, you can hang in the league a long time. Russell's question on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melo. What's Todd need to do to get us mentally prepared this weekend? We haven't been as sharp since I left Nashville. Auburn's out for revenge. I will say this, and Lauren, I'm a huge Walter Clayton guy. I've been saying it for months. I think he's the best we've ever had since I became a Gator. I don't think he shoots the ball enough. And I just, it bothers me. I'm watching that game and I'm telling myself, Walter, take the game over. Right? So right. I think what Todd needs to tell Walter is, don't worry about getting other people involved right here. You can do
just get to it
if you have to. But let's go ahead and let's bust this game open early and you take it over. That's how I would tell it. That's what I would tell them to do. I'm crazy, but that's what I would tell them to do.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, here in the next few months, hopefully Walter Clayton will hear his name called in the NBA, and that's what scores do in the NBA. Even what you might call shoot first point guards, which is what I consider Walter Clayton. Yeah, I mean, man, get to it. If you got a mismatch, if they put a guy like Taj Pettiford on you, or even Chad Baker-Mazara, which I think he's bigger than Pettiford, and he's got he's more physical than Baker-Mazara, even though he's taller. But both those guys struggled to stay in front of him in that game in Auburn. And yeah, I mean, just it's almost like now you tell yourself, okay, you've done the right things, you've gotten everybody involved, you've been unselfish, but now it's time to go to work. And teams have blitzed Clayton a little bit, but because he moves so well without the ball, it's tough to do that. And so use those things to your advantage. I think they do a really nice job when they go with the 3 guard lineup, which I like, is when they bring in Aberdeen, and Aberdeen kind of starts to play the point, and then that allows Clayton to kind of distribute and move without the ball a little better when they go with the traditional lineup that they start the game with. So, with that said, I think that, yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, like, I think somebody brought up a good point. You have these out of body experiences that have been part of the Final Four for so many years where a guy just literally takes the weekend over. And I agree with you. I mean, there's, we could argue, and you weren't I guess you weren't a Gator when Vernon Maxwell was playing, and some of those guys.
No.
Mad Max been on there talking or lately. I don't know if you've seen him on the podcast, but yeah, I mean, probably since we both. I mean, I think you became a Gator, and I became one shortly after. At least as a fan. And yeah, I mean, he's special, and no doubt about it. And yeah, I mean, this is definitely a weekend where you got to go to your guy and say, for us to win this, you have to lead us. And I agree. I mean, I mean, go for 30, but go for 30 and go get it right off the bat. I agree.
Yeah. Whenever Meyer wanted to introduce his high quality tequila to the Gator Nation, he made sure to get it to the HBC and his team at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Dorn's Liquors. Go beyond with smooth Los Landeros tequila. A few more minutes with Lauren Meadows from Gator Bait Media. Lauren, you going to the Final Four?
I am actually. It'd be my first Final Four ever. So it could get a little pricey on you, but we have some friends in San Antonio that have been nice enough to open their humble abode to yours truly. And I stepped out on faith, man. I bought a plane ticket about 3 months ago. So I was thinking positive, bought all the guarantees just in case I had to eat the ticket or find something else to do with it. And but yeah, I'm going. I'm looking forward to it, man. I haven't been to San Antonio in over 20 years, so it'll be interesting to see. I really don't even remember, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's going to be a good weekend. I mean, what a great weekend for the SEC with what they've been in basketball as a conference this year. The rivalry. I mean, Shane, but I think the Auburn Florida rivalry in a lot of things has lost its luster since they don't play as much in football anymore. But it's still a great weekend for the SEC, a great historic rivalry, not as much in basketball, but the fact that it's Auburn, Florida, I think just will mean a lot to both groups of fans there. So I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. It's San Antonio's a fun time. Be careful down there at the Riverwalk.
Well, I'm
Real quick
married,
before
so
we
I'll
let you
be,
go.
I got to
Yeah,
keep it right.
yeah. Um, Spring football. We've had a lot of people. It seems like on a daily basis, everybody asks, "Is DJ throwing?" Um, you know, I have concerns about it because he's so young to have shoulder problems at this
hmm
age. Just your thoughts on it. I mean, you go to all practices quite a bit for the viewing period that they give you.
hmm
Um, just discuss DJ and then who has stood out. I mean, it's spring ball. Let's be honest, but who has stood out the most to you?
Well, I think what I like is well, let's talk about Lagway first. Right now you just got to go on what Napier has given you, and at least he's been true to that in the fact that Lagway's kind of on a pitch count and they're being cautious. I think he's doing a lot of moving around, and I've even seen him in some public spaces that I think if there was something really wrong with Lagway, I think he would maybe be a little bit more cautious in the way he moves and things like that. So I'm gonna just go with the fact that it's rest. They're doing some rehab with him, getting that shoulder together, but it's nothing that should keep him away from taking part game one in the 2025 season. Now, obviously, when we get into spring ball and we'll get some viewing periods, then you're gonna really know. Shane, as you know, the issue is gonna be can he spend some time with those receivers in the summertime? And you and I both know that's where you make your bones with your guys, is that's when you really get your time in. And you hear it all the time. Guys talk about we spent a lot of time in the summer, excuse me, fine tuning what we were doing, and you won't be able to do that. And then for me, and I'm going to go out on a limb, and maybe I'm wrong for saying this, I'm most impressed with just the young group that they have, the freshmen that they've been able to bring in, particularly those young receivers, guys like Dallas Wilson, Vernell Brown, and then you add a guy like J. Michael Sturdivant, who I think is going to be, a big time player for the Gators. Just if Lagway is able to come along, I mean, those young receivers look like they have that dynamic burst that almost looks like they're SEC ready right now. So, even talking to Rob Sale, I saw Rob Sale in the parking lot one night, and I just said, "Hey, coach, how'd it look today?" And he said, "Man, we did really good." And then he started talking about the receivers. So, everybody you talk to just raving about these young receivers. So, you got to go with them to be the story of the spring. I mean, right now the secondary is tough. I think there's 5 safeties in black jerseys right now that played meaningful minutes for the Gators. So, I'll caution Florida fans. Obviously, you want to be there to support the Gators, but Shane, I mean, the spring games are starting to lose their importance anyway, and it's going to be a pretty mild scrimmage. I think a week from now.
Yeah. Last thing, Kelly Ray Finley, I know you're close to the women's basketball program. You've had her on my program before. She had her baby, little boy, yesterday. Congratulations to her. But looking at the season they had, do they have a lot of girls coming back next year?
Well, they have what I call the core four. So yeah, shout out to Coach Finley. Very happy with her and her fiance Sean. They're welcome aboard Lake and Mott, but they have the core four, and that's Liv McGill, obviously, Miara O'Neal, Layla Reynolds, who's a sophomore, and then um, Kylie Kitts, who is the sister of Chloe Kitts, the South Carolina star, who probably would have been the fourth McDonald's All-American for Kelly Ray Finley had she not reclassified for the 2024 class. So, if they can keep those four together, and Kelly Ray Finley is the draw, despite having very little institutional investment, very little NIL money, there's a lot of girls that female women ladies, I don't want to use the wrong term, that want to come in and play for her, that want to be a part of her, and her ability to mold people, build relationships, build experiences. So the core, if they can keep the core four. Obviously, they lose Rashea Kyle. I think Alexia Dazeko, who was a junior college transfer, maybe had to get another year with that new ruling that kind of was affected by the football decision. If they could keep that, they need to grab a couple more out of the transfer portal. They've got a really nice young player who's a member of the Canadian, I think U19 team, a nice player that plays kind of inside outside. But the thing is, there has to be some type of institutional investment. I'm probably getting myself in trouble, but Florida's got to make a decision. Do you want to be mediocre in women's basketball, or do you want to make the next step? Kelly Ray Finley's like the Mike Tomlin of women's basketball. Never had a losing season. Historically, she won what 2 games in the SEC tournament 2 years in a row for the first time since you and I had both just been out of college, basically. I think you were in your second or third year in the pros. So, she's hitting those marks from a historical standpoint, but you got to make the decision as a school. Is this something we really want to be a part of? Because if so, I think Kelly Ray Finley is definitely the coach to lead them to the next step for sure.
Well, yeah, she's done a great job. How many years has she been the official head coach? 2?
3. Officially 3.
Okay.
The lame duck 4 year, the first year, and then the interim year, which was actually her best year. They had a really nice class, a nice group, and it's just struggling to stay up with the others that are spending some money. I mean, I heard a rumor that 250,000. There was a young lady that was ready to take a visit, and then called back and said, well, 250,000, and that's just where we are right now. I mean, I think that, if you put it all together and you let the playing field be level, I mean, she can recruit with anybody. I mean, you could tell. I mean, she builds relationships, she bringing high level talent, and the girls love playing for her. I mean, they absolutely love her. And I think that that's just something that they're going to have to decide as a whole, and maybe with this house settlement, there'll be some financial means to kind of help the program. But if you look at the way they play, they're fun to watch. They're up and down. She doesn't put strings on the girls. She doesn't hold them back. She allows them to be themselves, both on and off the court. And she's got a great staff. They just, it's gotta be, you gotta have everybody. I mean, within the complex, everybody's bought in. But come on, Florida. Take this diamond in the rough and go ahead and bring it out. Because I mean, you look at it, they're right there with everybody, and they're playing competitive. And outside of the game against South Carolina, and I want to say, a couple slippage, that they're in every game in the fourth quarter. So, you just got to give them time and give them the resources to make it happen.
Yep. Lauren, good stuff as always. Appreciate your time joining us here, and have a good trip out to
Yes,
San
sir,
Antonio,
man.
my man.
We'll be talking to you.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Lauren Meadows from Gator Bait Media. Join us on the Titan Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Quick timeout. Come back. We'll be joined by Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, talking a little bit of all Gators. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union,
International Diamond Center,
Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, Dave & Buster's, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Sign, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Okido America, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Naysayers. Setbacks. Injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. Florida Cracker is the brand for original Floridians. Great food and southern hospitality in the center of the universe, Brooksville, Florida. FloridaCracker.com. Back to the Titan Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Our man from 24/7 Sports, Graham Hall. What's up, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Shane. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, Graham, you beat writers, boy, y'all are doing a lot of traveling. The more we win, the more you travel. So, just talk about, this is probably the most exciting time you've had covering the Gators, right? In any sport, I would think, what happened out there in San Francisco.
Yeah, absolutely. As someone born and raised in Gainesville, anytime I get a chance to travel for multiple weeks and cover a team like this, I'm very good. And it has been an exciting time. Went from Nashville to Raleigh to San Francisco, and now on our way to San Antonio. It didn't look like it, though, for a lot of that contest on Saturday night. I got to be quite honest. There were a couple beat writers down there who started writing there. Florida season comes to a disappointing close to Texas Tech in that game. I mean, what a miraculous finish. It was one of the ones where you close your computer and just sit there and watch, in my mind. It was incredible, and looking forward to a fantastic Final Four this weekend. I'll be getting out Thursday to San Antonio for Saturday's game against Auburn.
Yeah, it was, in my opinion, I wasn't there in person, obviously, but watched a lot of Gator sporting events. It's probably the most exciting one I've ever witnessed, and it was phenomenal, no doubt about it. Graham, how you like this matchup against Auburn? Obviously, we beat them at their ballpark a couple months ago, what have you. I want to say that was the game Walter played, but Walter had just come back from an injury, and Elijah was out of that game. How do you like the Gators matching up against the Tigers in this one?
I think it's a great matchup for Florida. I mean, they played season, though, at Auburn back on, February 8th. That was an absolute, just incredible game by them, because you mentioned Elijah Martin being out, who's their best on-ball defender in my mind. Not only him, but this team didn't have Micah Hanlockton back. I mean, he was still a week away from returning. There was a chance that it would be a little bit sooner there. He ends up just taking a couple to the lineup about a week after that, when Sam Alexis and Alex Condon go down with ankle injuries. And so they have a starter back from last season's team. They get Elijah Martin back for this matchup. You think that Florida would be even better, but they're going to have to play at a higher level than they have so far in the NCAA tournament. I mean, there have been some fantastic finishes by Florida. Go back to that UConn game, the shot making that they got down the stretch from Walter Clayton. And then, of course, Texas Tech on Saturday. I mean, that 18-4 run over the final, 2 minutes and 54 seconds, which is absolutely incredible. But it overcame, I think, difficult stretches for Florida, certainly in both of those games. They weren't as effective from long range. They got out physical at times, both, in the backcourt and on the glass. Even if they won the rebounding battle, they struggled to sometimes contend with some bigs that they faced in those games. So Florida's going to have to be better. This is an experienced team that Coach Bruce Pearl has put together. They are made for March, made for April now. They have a veteran lineup, with a 25-year-old and Chad Baker-Mazara, Janai Broom. Everyone knows how good he All-American, first-teamer. It's tough to beat a team twice in a season, but you think you got to have a lot of confidence having gone on the road to Auburn, beat a team that was playing arguably at its best when Florida went in there and beat them in their home arena. So you'd think that Florida is going to have the advantage in this contest, but I'm not counting Bruce Pearl out in March. This is a coach that is desperate to add a national championship to his fantastic resume. You have the mentor versus mentee type storyline with Todd Golden a decade ago, having been on Bruce Pearl's staff at Auburn. He's close with Bruce and his son, Steven. So this is absolutely an interesting matchup if the apprentice can kind of get the better of, the mentor here, the master here in a sense. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how it unfolds. Florida's going to have to bring its A game, if not its A+ game, to get history on their side here. But you cannot take Auburn lightly. They were absolutely dominant for most of this season here, and for good reason. Look at their record in quad one games, just their record at neutral sites, facing some of the top competition. They're definitely motivated for revenge after suffering that loss to Florida back in February. So this is a compelling matchup, but this is what you want in the NCAA tournament, right? Like, you want to see the best of the best face each other. I've heard some people complaining about all the number one seeds. I got to be quite honest. I want to see these conversations ended, the arguments just come to a conclusion in a sense here, where we finally can say this is the best team in the country, and no better way to do that than with 4 number one seeds battling it out in the final weekend.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. None of these coaches have won a national title. Obviously, you got 2 young ones and 2 old ones that have been trying to do it for a long time. But Daryl's text on the Titan and More text line: if we beat Auburn, I would rather face Houston. Like I said, all 4 of these teams are outstanding. The only reason I would want to play Houston if we won is because Houston sometimes can go through lulls for 7-8 minutes where they can't shoot. Duke is so skilled, but we got to beat Auburn and then worry about them there. You talked about the whole Bruce Pearl, Todd Golden deal. I mean, that's going to be the storyline, right? All week long with national media. We've heard about it here in the South. But boy, that'd be nice to beat the guy that you kind of learned under, for sure. Your thoughts, Graham, on Janai Broom? I talked to Lauren Meadows about it. I don't think he's going to be I think he might be about 60 to 70%. I just don't know how effective he can be with that right elbow issue. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is a guy who is probably going to do everything he can to grit it out. I mean, we've seen him multiple times. I don't want to say he's a fantastic actor or anything like that, but there have been multiple times where I've thought that you saw him suffer a season-ending injury. Remember when he sprained that ankle? It looked like his season was over, and he misses just 2 games here. He takes that fall against Michigan State. Looks like he hyperextends his elbow. Looks like he also kind of hyperextended his knee a little bit. I was like, oh man, this guy is done for. This is the last we've seen of Janai Broome. He checks back into the game and drills a 3-pointer. So maybe that's the adrenaline that he was playing through, and that, he woke up the next day and he's feeling a little bit sore. We won't know until closer to Saturday here. Obviously, they don't want to tip their hat where they're at right now, but this is a situation where if I'm Florida, I'm expecting Janai Broome to not just be at 100%, but to be given the stakes. This is a guy who is going to be extremely motivated, just like everyone else out there, to end his collegiate career with a championship. You got to anticipate that you are going to be facing a fully healthy Janai Broome. And also, if you're a Florida fan, you don't want there to be any asterisk on this one. If you're going out there and to San Antonio and you get a victory over this Auburn team, you don't want anyone sitting there saying, well, you only did it because Janai Broome was, limited or injured or wasn't himself, whatever you want to call it. You want to be able to beat that team and thoroughly do it to end the question about who was the best team in the SEC this season. I know that Florida fans still go back to that Georgia game where Florida lost on the road at Georgia, which kept Florida from winning the SEC this season. So having a chance to get that revenge once again, already won the SEC tournament, now have a chance to beat the final SEC team in the NCAA tournament. You want to do it at full strength, but it is a massive question mark about how healthy he is going to be. I'm sure Auburn's training staff is doing everything possible to make sure that he doesn't feel anything whatsoever. But I got to be quite honest, it looked pretty bad to me when I saw it live. I don't know how he was able to check back in. It's something I'm really interested to see how he is on Saturday, because this is a guy who absolutely changes the game when he is out there. Just his ability to space the floor, his low post game is extremely effective as well. He's going to cause trouble for Florida's bigs, and especially for Florida, with Alex Condon turning his ankle there over the weekend. How healthy is he going to be? Is he going to be a little bit of a step slow? They're going to need him to go up against Broome as well as Ruben Chinyelu. And if Condon is injured and Janai Broome is in better condition than him, then certainly you're in a little bit of a difficult situation if you're Florida, where you're going up against arguably the best big man in the country and your front court's not at full strength. So it is a huge storyline in this game, probably a bigger one in terms of the game impact in my mind than the mentor-mentee relationship between Bruce Pearl and Todd Golden.
The Pouncey twins provide all of Gator Nation with the highest quality liqueurs made by J.F. Hayden Craft Liqueurs. Find your favorite flavors at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. A few more minutes with Graham Hall on the Titan More Highline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. All right, switching gears, we got a text on the Titan More text line from George. Graham, what can you tell us about the kids that committed to the Gators in football yesterday?
Javari Flowers is a guy who is a late addition to this class. He had been wanting to make his decision by the end of March, get on campus in time for summer. For Florida, I think it's just it's a massive need, right? Because the injuries you have at cornerback right now, with Devin Moore coming back from an offseason surgery, missing the end of the season. Dijon Johnson has been out for a while. You've got a couple guys who are nursing some injuries as well. You've been playing a lot of young guys. Getting another corner in the room, a highly regarded one at that, is absolutely a need for Florida. Obviously, he won't be here until the summer, but you're going to expect those young freshman corners to see the field this season, considering how much they rotate at the position and considering how highly are. So I expect him to be someone that hits the ground running when he gets here. And for Florida, it's also, a recruiting win over Miami. There was a lot of smoke back in February, late January, that Javari Flowers was going to end up at Miami. Will Harris leaves Florida and goes to Miami. You think that that's going to give Miami a boost on the recruiting trail with landing Flowers, but Florida pulls it out at the end, ends up landing him, even if the damage control from Miami is that, they're too talented at the position and they don't need him. I mean, I don't think you ever can not want a highly regarded cornerback. This is a guy that Florida's coaching staff was excited to land. And like I said, he'll be here in summer with, I think, 6 or 7 other mid-year enrollees. So that's the next part of the roster addition that Florida will experience after spring camp is in the book next week. So I think it's a big win for Florida, a late addition. You don't often see 2025 kids commit at the end of March. So it's absolutely a plus for Florida to already add to an impressive 2025 recruiting class that saw them add a lot of talented players down the stretch, from Dallas Wilson, obviously, Landon Laganza, Hayward, Onis Kananbani. That's 2 defensive backs right there that I mentioned that were highly regarded in this class, and now they add Flowers to the mix as well.
Yeah, AU Gator on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, is Torian Green still with the staff? Yes, he is. Back to basketball. I think it was Lauren that was talking about CJ Ingram. Obviously, he's a Gator commit coming in next year. Somebody asked me yesterday on the program. I didn't get to it, and I think you'd be the perfect person to ask this, Graham, because you follow all the sports so well. How many high school kids does Ty Golden have committed for next year? And then how many kids do you think he goes out and brings in from the portal?
That's a good question. Absolutely. I'll start with CJ Ingram. I'll clear up something on him. He had a commitment or signing ceremony at his school a couple months back, but he can't officially sign with Florida until 2 weeks from now, when the signing period begins for basketball. So they'll have added 2 high school players from this most recent recruiting class. And as of now, in the 2026 class, they don't have anyone committed. And I think that's by design, because you look around at just the state of college basketball, right? You are building your rosters year over year with transfers to be competitive, to maintain that level of competitiveness. Now, obviously, if you can get a top 30 player in the class, someone you think can come in and play right away, there's only so few Cooper Flags out there in the world. But if you can get someone, Boogie Fland, obviously what Texas did with Jeremiah, with Trey Johnson, what Oklahoma did with Jeremiah Fears. If you can get someone like that who can come in and play right away from the jump as a freshman and play at a high level, then yeah, you're going to go out there and take them. There are only so few of those out there in my mind. So you're seeing less and less, I think, high school additions filling the classes right now. And that's just, it's unfortunate in a sense, where a lot of them end up at mid-major programs, and then they enter the portal afterwards, and then the big schools come calling for them after they've had a year of development. And when they're looking to add a little bit more, veteran players to their roster, they're not just adding a freshman who you really can't gauge how much of the year they're going to need to spend developing. So obviously high school recruiting is not going away whatsoever. They're going to keep adding talented players. CJ Ingram and Alex Lloyd are both top 50 players in the class, which is why they are headed to Florida, and give Florida's coaching staff a lot of credit for identifying them early, because they committed to Florida, or they were first offered by Florida. And now you've seen Ingram receive interest from Kansas, and Alex Lloyd receive interest from a bunch of schools around the country before he signed with Florida. So it's not going away anyway. I'm not trying to filibuster here and avoid the transfer portal question, but that's the big question here, where we're going to have to find something out, because obviously you lose the 3 guards, and Denzel Aberdeen is expected to move into that starting point guard role, but they probably go out there and get another point guard, right? Someone who can compete with Denzel, a veteran, a guy who would be also okay sharing that role, potentially being the 2 guard off the bench, or working in this dual backcourt, point guard system with Florida. We'll see what they end up doing there, but they're obviously going to take at least 1, probably 2, maybe 3 guards in the transfer portal, just given who they are losing there. They're going to obviously want to have some veteran experience on this roster, because next season it is going to lack that in terms of a postseason experience, winning mentality standpoint. You would like to go out there and get another guy like Elijah Martin, certainly. So that is going to be a focus for Florida. But otherwise, I think a lot of it's to be determined. You're seeing Thomas Houck start to get some recognition from these NBA mock drafts. And I'm not saying that NBA mock drafts mean everything. They can be completely wrong. But you have seen Thomas Houck start to rise up boards. I think even the other day he was listed as a potential first-round pick, I think in Bleacher Reports, to the Charlotte Hornets, in the mid-20s. That is not something that we were talking about a couple of months ago. I'm not saying it's not warranted, but I think a lot of this is to be determined. I would not be surprised if you see, and I'm not reporting this, I would not be surprised, just due to the regulations and what you can do, I would not be surprised to see Thomas Houck and or Alex Condon declare for the draft and do what Walter Clayton and Will Richard did last year. Go through the process, return to Florida in May after they get some feedback, unless they go through and they feel as if they are going to be one of the, in my mind, even in the NIL era, you get a top 40 guarantee. I say, go on, young man, go to be a professional. That is good money. It's a good spot to work your way through, the start of your professional career. You have more guarantees, obviously, than being even in the 50s or potentially going undrafted. So a lot of that is to be determined, absolutely. So they can see two guys test the NBA draft waters. And then what does Florida do? Do they move in the portal and try and find a forward to add to the roster? Or do they hold those spots like they did for Walter and Will last year and bank on one of those guys coming back and allow yourself to miss on some prospects who have entered the portal? The portal window is a little bit smaller in college basketball than it is in football. It's, I think, only about 2.5 weeks where players can enter the portal. But obviously, once they're in the portal, they can take as much time as they need to make their decision. You want to be on campus before the start of off. So they get about 6 weeks really to make that decision before they're heading to their new destination. And in that time frame, Florida can gather information from Houck and Condon about what their plans are, whether they plan to return to Florida or go pro. So it is a little bit of a wait and see period. You have to gamble and miss out on some guys if you think you're going to get one of your draft declarees to come back to your program. So that's something that Florida is probably going to deal with. And then there's probably going to be some other attrition on the roster. Some guys who saw their, I'm not going to name names, but some guys who saw their roles limited down the stretch or have been here on scholarship and have not played. I think Florida fans can probably deduce some of the names I'm talking about here, but you have a chance that you could get deeper in the bench and add more players to this roster because Florida just became an even more desirable spot to be in. I know that we always talk about, top 5 athletic program, university, but guys want to win championships, right? They want to also be paid in good NIL to win championships. And you'd think that after the run that Florida is currently in the midst of, that they're going to be able to acquire even more desirable players to come here, fill out the bench, compete for starting roles. So a lot of it is to be determined, but they should absolutely have more options this year when it comes to adding talented players based on where the program is at right now. I'm sorry if I didn't exactly answer the question of what Florida is going to do in the transfer portal. A lot of it is going to be wait and see, but it's clear from who they're losing from this year's team that we know of already the positions they're going to target, and that is in the backcourt. Expect them to absolutely add some quality guards, some impressive guys. And I think if there's one thing you can bank on right now, it's that Todd Golden and his coaching staff have evaluated at a high rate. So even if they are not one of those super highly rated guys in the recruiting sites, I know that working for 247 Sports, maybe I shouldn't say it like that, but let's wait to judge until they get to campus, play in games. If they're not one of the top 100 transfers, let's hold out and wait. Because remember, Walt and Elijah and Will Richard were not considered top 100 transfers when it came to Florida. And look at them now, right?
Yep, no doubt about it. Graham, great stuff as always. Any specials going on right now?
We're doing 50% off right now. I think for the next couple of days, make sure you take advantage of that. A lot of spring camp info as well. Florida's scrimmage, their lone scrimmage outside of the orange and blue game is tonight. So we'll have some inside info later tonight as well. I'll be out in San Antonio with basketball coverage. We've got the largest message board community in the Florida Gators network. Come join the discussion, complain about the team, praise the team, whatever you want to do. You can do it at Swamp 247. It's going to be a great weekend. I can't wait to get out there, and I'm going to have to be back pretty soon, and we'll chop it all up.
Safe travels, my friend. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it. Hope everyone out there is doing well.
Yep. Ruse Ogre State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Tomorrow we'll have JC. We'll do some picks. We'll also Matt McCall, former assistant under Billy Donovan when they won the national titles. Also former head coach at UMass and UT Chattanooga. Now does a lot of college breakdown for Sirius XM radio. So make sure you tune in for that. Have a great day, folks. Take care.